Welcome back to Alliance War, Season 37, War 7 for Loki versus XK9, and oh boy, what a doozy. I'm traveling abroad, so I didn't have any real input on planning for this war, so I'm getting stuck with this horrendous team because it involves Ikaris. I'm calling this the Mike's Revenge of team construction, and it's going to pay off later on in the war. First up, I have this Kingpin on Vivified. This is a traditional fight that I've done with herc about 187 times. Pretty boring stuff. All you're doing is just baiting SB1s and punishing, so let's speed it up and get through the fight as quickly as possible. Because Lord knows herc fights are pretty boring. This is standard placement for Kingpin. You see a lot of times people taking this fight with APOC in previous seasons. Because you can't shrug APOC stuff, but APOC's banned every war in Season 37, so you've got to come up with their solutions. Fortunately, the ultimate war solution has been and will always be Hercules. The only damage I'm taking in this fight is due to brute force. Otherwise, this is perfectly clean, and Kingpin goes down quickly. Alrighty. So the next fight I have assigned is on Hazard Shift, Incinerate, and Poison, and there's no better counter to a Mystic placement there than rhulk. Rhulk is going to absolutely destroy this Wong. Spoiler alert, by the way. The only tricky thing about Wong is understanding how his abilities work. I have no idea how his abilities work. I just don't care because I'm using rhulk. So let's speed this sucker up. The one thing that PWF told me about this fight was try to end the fight with Wong having less than 1 bar of power, because if Wong is defeated with more than 1 bar of power, then he's going to put some stink-eye debuffs that pertain to the next fight. Well, I didn't do that. So I'm going to end the fight with Wong having a little bit more than 2 bars of power here, and so there's going to be some stink-eyes on rhulk for my next fight, but it doesn't really matter. All right. The third fight that I had in the first section is this Hazard Shift, Incinerate, Shock fight against Cersei. Now, this is the fight that I hate because I had to use Karate Mike's butt boy here, Mr. Ikaris. He loves Ikaris because Ikaris is a sick and tired attacker. He's also Shock and Incinerate immune. So I dueled this fight about 6 times. And when I dueled this fight, the strategy that I employed was using special ones to build incinerates, understanding that those incinerates are going to be triggering heal block from sick and tired, like what we have right here with Ikaris. Then I would be parrying heavying to pause the incinerate debuff while I built up power to another special one, in which I would throw that again and increase the number of incinerates. And ideally, I would be building up enough incinerates that I could ultimately end up nuking this Cersei with with hopefully a special 3, and that would be the end of the fight. But I screw this up. And I screw this up because in all the times that I dueled this Cersei, even when I was hitting special ones, like right here, with her glancing buff active, I was still re-upping my incinerates. However, when I actually did this fight in real time, the chance for shrugging occurred, and so the incinerates did not reapply, which meant that the heal block no longer was in effect. So you can see this Cersei is just healing back all her health. And I, quite frankly, it was sort of just lost. I'm like, well, what the heck is going on? And so I'm trying to reset. I'm trying to figure out, well, how do I get these incinerates back on this lady? And what I really just needed to do was pause the fight, take a second, breathe, and then redo it. Instead, what happens is I get hit by special and I die. And that's my first death of the season, 7 wars in, 40-plus fights. And so you can see here I've zoomed in on, I've got 16 incinerates. I throw the special one. They don't reapply. Just one does. I lose the heal block, and I lose momentum for the fight. So I watched the video. I figured out what I did wrong, and I just healed up Ikaris and went right back in. And this time I played the fight with a lot more patience. I made sure that I was just parrying, heavying until the glancing buff expires. Then I was throwing the special ones to ensure that the incinerates would reapply. And once I sort of got into that rhythm, it just became about blocking, dexing specials, not making the same mistake, and getting through the fight pretty cleanly. And so for the rest of this fight, that's exactly what happens. I end up taking a bunch of chip damage because of the aggression prowess on the node. As you can see, the prowess counter is getting pretty ridiculous. And so even when I block specials, I'm taking a significant amount of damage. But I mean, she's melting at this point, and I'm just playing it smart and conservative, which is really what I should have done the first time. Ikaris is fine for this fight, joking aside. I just played it wrong. I played it stupidly. I should have been more conservative in my initial approach, and if I had been, I would have gotten through the fight cleanly, which I do the second time. So, Karate Mike got his revenge. I talked junk about him in a recent video. He convinced PWF, and here's my buddy John texting me. I was traveling while I was sitting in an airport doing this fight, traveling, and he's asking me if my delayed flight has been rescheduled and if I was any luck getting an upgrade in my seat. And the answers to both questions ended up being no and no. No, I was not given an update on my delay, and no, I never got that upgrade, which stunk. But whatever, it's fine. I ended up getting through this fight. Only my wife bore the brunt of my frustration over my performance in the first attempt. But she's a lovely lady who's extremely forgiving of my MCOC obsession. So moving on to the second section here, I have a Rintra fight. Rintra does not scare me at all on defense, especially when I'm using Red Hulk. Even with the stink eyes from Wong after the Node 21 fight, it's simply a matter of knocking Rintra down. And so I popped a SP1 boost, an advanced power boost, so that way I could just spam the special ones and get this dude down. Parry heavy, punish his special one. It's a really easy fight, just trying to keep his whatever counter down as low as possible, which you do by knocking him down. So yeah, pretty simple fight, easy rhulk fight. Rintra does not scare me on defense. He's great in battlegrounds on defense just because he's a big beefy boy like an APOC. He's got a big health pool, a lot of damage resistances built into his kit. But in terms of playing him in Alliance War, as long as you know how to fight him, he's cake. So yeah, that's that. All right, next up I have a Nova, another fun defender that fortunately I have herc on my team, and herc absolutely wrecks Novas left and right. So we're going to speed this one up too, because again, it's a normal safe herc fight, spamming the SP1 so that way you don't have to worry about the auto block, and then just dexing specials. I think I do get it. Yeah, I got the sweet SP2 dex right there, followed by me eating a combo. So the good and the bad of Clown, the usual stuff. But overall, this is a pretty simple fight. This was scheduled to be my last fight this war. However, I had to help clean up this Scorpion here on node 53. And I happened to catch this as my flight was delayed on the tarmac. So I said, yeah, I can clean up Scorpion with herc. That's no problem, because as we all know, if you have a problem with a war fight, all you need to do is herc it. So that's all this fight is. I'm not going to gain any power because there's no damage over time debuffs. Even though his secondary damage counts as a damage over time for some aspects of the game, it doesn't for this particular node set, but it doesn't matter because herc destroys the dude anyway. So that's it. Ended up being 6 fights, 1 death, my first death this season. Really kissed my sister on that one. See you in the next one, folks. Bye.